Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. I am getting my stuff together here. Bear with me. I don't know why there wasn't like a notification. I had set up, actually, you know what? I may not have set up this week's notification by accident. That could have been my mistake. But I'm glad you're here. Yes, that is my full name. And you spelled it right. It's not Debra, it's Deborah, like the Bible. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I hope my music is not too loud. I'm glad to be back. Last week was crazy. I officially have 2 high schoolers, and I'm not okay. I am not okay. Oh, weird. Okay. Yes, like the Bible. Yes, like the Bible. Yeah, my daughter had orientation last week for her class recommendations. So, and it was literally at the same time. So I had to go in and be a mom last week. So, but everything's all good and ready to go. I'm glad that we're here. So that way we can talk about our freshman orientation. My baby girl. I already got a 16-year-old, so he's about to go into his junior year, and now she's going into her freshman year. So yeah, mom is not okay. All right, I was more nervous than she was. But yeah, so I'm glad we're at least able to come back and revisit our topic of scarcity mindsets. Thanks to Kiki, this is her request for us to talk through scarcity mindsets. There was so much when it comes to like researching scarcity mindsets and really kind of wanting to talk through it. So what I want to do is just explain what it is. I feel like a lot of people talk about it often. It's kind of like a social media term, I think, that people use, and they either under-explain it or over-explain it to where it's too difficult to comprehend for the average person, because it's like, why say all that? Just give it to us straight, right? Yeah, absolutely, no problem. It's definitely something that needs to be talked about, and I think I might do it for 2 weeks because there was so much information that I want to make sure that I share. Yes, I'm 36, guys. Nobody ever believes that I'm 36, but I am an 87 baby. So yes, I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. But yeah, so let's dive in. We're talking about scarcity mindsets, what they are, and then there's 3 areas that I'm giving affirmations for tonight. And then next week we can do 3 more areas because there was just so much. So just to kind of give you an overview, scarcity mindset is basically just a person who believes resources are limited and opportunities are scarce. People with a scarcity mindset tend to focus on what they lack rather than what they have. And if they do have a lot, they tend to believe in somehow, some way it's going to be taken away, right? So having that type of mentality leads us to continuously operate in survivor's mode, or it keeps us in a cycle. So it will keep us in a cycle of not being able to make great decisions, keeps us in a cycle of anxiety or overthinking. It keeps us in the mindset of our cycle of anger or unforgiveness, or just depressive cycles where we find ourselves having really, really high highs and then really, really low lows. Or it could be just a trauma response to where people just really just enjoy drama, so they can continue the cycle of having a lot of drama in their lives, and they do it subconsciously a lot of the times, or they self-sabotage. So because of the mindset that they have, if they find themselves in an opportunity, or if they find themselves in a space that they don't technically believe that they deserve or should have, they find some way to self-sabotage it, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. So just to kind of give you like an overview of what a scarcity mindset is, just before we dive in, because you can have a scarcity mindset in so many different areas of your life, or you can have it in just one area of your life. And because you have it in that one area, it then trickles into the other areas of your lives, because scarcity mindsets ultimately affect our decisions and our actions. And if we're operating off of that mindset, that survivor's mode all of the time, we're going to limit what our opportunities and what we have, and just what we tangibly have and what our opportunities are. So awesome. I consider scarcity mindset as a spiritual concept. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like it's gotten taken over by social media as a social media term or topic to talk about. But I feel like in the areas that I've seen that it's been talked about, it's been either, I want to say, like balloons, to where it's like made to be like one thing, or it's basically not, it's under explained to the point where people just are confused, or they feel like they got it right in one area, but it shows up in another area, and now they're kind of confused on how this process is supposed to help, whether it be like affirmations or self-love, or just self-help in general. So that's why I wanted to kind of break it down into sections, so that way it makes it easier to digest. So the three areas that I focused on for today when it comes to scarcity mindsets is finances, our emotions, and our abilities, right? So our finances, our emotions, and our abilities. I came up with 3 affirmations for each area. So there's 9 affirmations altogether. So I'm going to share them in sections, and feel free to, like I say all the time, feel free to adjust the affirmations as needed. If you need to change the language, if you need to change it so that way it makes sense for you. If the affirmation doesn't make sense for you at all, feel free to not use it. This is just for you to kind of get your brain flowing. And then if you find in any of these 3 areas that you have a scarcity mindset, this can help you and prompt you into finding new affirmations or additional affirmations that you can add to the list that I have here. So I'm gonna break them down in sections. I'll give them 3 at a time. Feel free to ask questions if you have any. If you want to type them in the comments so that way everybody else can see them, or just so that way you can comprehend it, feel free to do so. Use it however you want to. If you want to write them down in your journal, you want to put them on Post-it notes, to post them on your wall. One thing that I always forget to tell you guys, like if you want to write them down and then record them, because hearing yourself say affirmations gives you another way of receiving it. And if you hear yourself say the affirmation audibly, then it's more, gives you more of a sense to be able to believe it. So listening to yourself in the morning of your recording of you saying the affirmations is another way for you to kind of take them in on a day-to-day basis. Awesome. I'm glad that this is helpful. So we'll go ahead and we'll dive into finances first. Sorry, my portal was dying. Like, what is that beeping noise? Okay. So finances, number 1, I am a generator of prosperity and release fear without limits. I am a generator of prosperity and release fear without limits. So this is basically just saying, don't allow fear to paralyze you financially. Don't allow fear to paralyze you financially. I am a generator of prosperity and release fear without limits. A lot of times we have a tough time with generating more income or generating more opportunities because we allow fear to paralyze us when it comes to our finances because of scarcity mindsets. If we grew up a certain way, if we grew up and saw our parents struggle every day, we grew up with a single parent, or we grew up with no parents, or if we grew up in just not the best situations, we automatically tend to think that that's how the rest of our lives are supposed to be. And if we can continue to remind ourselves that we can generate prosperity, we can generate wealth, we can generate new income, and that looks different for everybody, right? Someone that's making $30,000 a year, if they can get their income up to $55,000 a year or $60,000 a year, that's a better situation from what they've come from. So a lot of times I think we also have to get out of our minds that we're all gonna make $1 million. We all gonna make $1 billion. That may not necessarily be the case, but that doesn't mean that we can't generate wealth, right? And yes, if you feel like that's where you're supposed to be and what you want and what you're striving for is going to generate that amount of income, by all means. But a lot of times I think when we think of wealth, we think it has to be this large, huge number. And it's not necessarily that. It can be more so of a number that we have, that like a number goal that we have in our minds that will get us up and keep moving us up the ladder. But a lot of times if we not overthink it, but if we overstretch, that's the fear. That's what brings the fear. So think about numbers that you actually feel like, you know what, that actually is something that I can obtain. If I move this here, or if I adjust this here, or if I go back to school and do this, or if I do that, I actually can generate that amount. So giving yourself baby steps versus it being this long drawn out overview or big huge vision is what generates the fear. And eventually you'll get there, but you know, sometimes we just overthink things and like, okay, I'll never get there, so why not? Why even try? That's the limiting mindset. That's the scarcity mindset, right? So I am a generator of prosperity and release fear without limits. Number 2, money flows to me easily and abundantly, providing for all of my needs and desires. Money flows to me easily and abundantly, providing for all of my needs and desires. Now, going back to, I've said this before, and I'll say this probably on every live, I'm a believer. So I believe that I am abundantly cared for. So when it comes to allowing money to flow to us easily, it's not necessarily in a way in a physical way. It's more so in a spiritual way. And it's more so of shifting the mindset to believe that that actually can happen. So, and money, when I say money flows to us easily, doesn't mean that it's going to be an overtly amount of money. But if I'm getting consistent money, right? If I'm getting money Jesus loves you too. If I'm getting money consistently, then money does flow to me easily, right? So it's like if I'm working for that money and it's flowing to me, and if I'm abundantly cared for and covered, then money does flow to me easily and it comes to me abundantly, right? So this is more of a faith type of affirmation, but it's definitely one that I hold on to as far as, and it's actually something that I say in the morning: money flows to me easily, money flows to me fast, money flows to me unexpectedly. Just saying things like that to shift our mindsets to where money isn't just this thing that's far away, but it's actually something that comes to me, and I don't always have to work for it. Sometimes it will just come to me. You know what I mean? So changing your mindset. Number 3, I use wisdom when it comes to money, making sound financial decisions. I use wisdom when it comes to money, making sound financial decisions. Most of the time, we have fear when it comes to our finances and some money because we're afraid of what we're going to do with it. Like if I was to get $10,000 tomorrow, if it was supposed to drop, if it was just going to drop in my lap tomorrow, what would I do with it, right? So some people may think that $10,000 is a large amount of money and that will never actually happen for them. But what if it does? Taking the time to generate, come in. My child is coming in the door. Come in. Taking the time to even think about things in that way. What if you get $10,000 and what if you get $20,000 tomorrow? What if you get $50,000 tomorrow? What would you do with it, right? Taking the time to actually think through these impossibles is how we shift our mindset. Because the more you start thinking about that, the better prepared you would be when it happens. So then that way you'll have more of a feelings of, oh, that could happen. And if it did happen, this is what I would do. If I got this amount, I would have this amount set to the side for my savings account. I would put this amount and pay this. I would move this here and I would move that there. I would put this in an investment. I would do this over here. I would get a financial advisor. I would start a 401k account. I would do this. Thinking about things in that way to where, hey, I'm expecting for this to happen to me. So with me expecting, I'm going to be proactive and I'm going to think through what that would look like. On the other side of it, a lot of times it's not about the amount of money that we're getting. It's more so about how we're managing that money. There are a lot of people that are making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year and have a whole lot of debt. And they're still going from check to check. And they're still running from the IRS. And they're still trying to make things right and trying to make money flow right. So it's not about the amount of money. The amount of money just highlights our struggles and our weaknesses. So we can be good stewards of what we currently have. The more so we'll be confident of when money comes my way, I'll be able to manage it better. So looking at your finances now and saying, how am I currently managing what I currently have? Am I overspending? Am I making the right decisions with the money that I have? Do I have a savings account? Am I putting money to the side for retirement? Am I, doing anything? Is there any bills that I can reduce or anything that I can change to make it easier for me to manage the money that I am making? Is there, do I need this? Can I cut off the cable here? Can I do that? I don't have cable. There's no need for it, honestly. And it's overpriced at this point. So finding creative ways for you to manage the current money that you have, because you being able to successfully manage the money that you have will then give you confidence in receiving new opportunities and new money to where you'll be able to manage that also. It's all about building your confidence and shifting your mindset with what you currently have. So that way that then in itself attracts more opportunities. I hope that's all helpful. Those were the three that I have for finance. I'll go back to the first one. The first one is I am a generator of prosperity and release fear without limits. Number 2 was money flows to me easily and abundantly, providing for all of my needs and desires. Number 3, I use wisdom when it comes to money, making sound financial decisions. That's the key one, y'all. If you can figure out how to effectively manage your current finances and what you're currently receiving and finding ways to even branch out, everybody should have more than one source of income. The way that we're living now, the way that the economy is now, we should all have multiple sources of income. So even and it doesn't necessarily mean I got to go get a 4th job, I got to go get a 3rd job. It could just be a hobby that you currently are doing already that you can generate more income. And finding ways to generate income. So think outside the box when it comes to your finances. Think about how you can adjust and steward what you currently have, but then also in addition to that, finding ways that you can add to your income. Building confidence, building a foundation for attracting more. You always, yes, yes, it's most important, because why would God give you more if you can't manage what you have? Same with our homes. If we can't take care of our homes the way of what we have now, why would He give us a bigger home? Why would He give us a ownership of our home if we're currently renting? If we can't keep our current space clean, if we can't keep our current space uncluttered. Now, I am a creative person and a creative mind, and slightly got a little bit of ADHD. So sometimes my space can get cluttered, and it's just up to me to say, hey, okay, I need to go into my space and unclutter. One uncluttering unclutters the mind. So the more you unclutter your home, the more you'll clutter the space and things that take up in your brain. But also, just when you have a cleaner space and you have and you're able to take care of the space you have, it generates that feeling of, I am accomplished, I am success, just by keeping your space clean. They say that that's like the psychology behind making your bed every day. I haven't mastered that yet, but but that's what they say the psychology is behind making your bed every day. If you make your bed every day, you keep your space clean, it gives you a sense of success and confidence to where it trickles into other spaces of your life. So I know that was a mouthful, but I just wanted to make sure I shared that. So that was scarcity for finance. Oh, I'm glad you needed to hear this today, Essence. I really am glad that this is helpful. Awesome. So we're going to the emotional piece of it. So emotional scarcity. The first one is, I release any scarcity mentality and welcome the limitless abundance that God has for me. I release any scarcity mentality and welcome the limitless abundance that God has for me. A lot of times we have to take the time to release that mentality and that mindset. And most of the time, that mindset is coming from our childhood, right? It's coming from childhood trauma where we experience something in some capacity. We experience some type of traumatic experience. And the traumatic experience doesn't have to be like an overtly crazy thing. It could just simply be, hey, my mom was a single mom, and she worked all the time, and when we came home, we kind of just had to, like, find food for ourselves and make sure that we had something to eat. And because you grew up that way, now you're operating in a way now as an adult to where you feel like, you have to overly purchase groceries, or you have to overly do this so that way you ensure that you have food in the house. So thinking about, like, outside of it just being something that's crazy, big, traumatic experience as to why you operate in a certain way. So taking the time to observe and have awareness of where in your life you are seeing yourself operate in a scarcity mindset, and how it's affecting your day to day, and how is it affecting your emotions and your actions. So I release any scarcity mentality and welcome the limitless abundance that God has for me, is a way of shifting your mindset into, I can have abundance, I can have plenty, I can have plentiful in all areas of my life. And I don't have to put limits on myself just because of where I come from. Um, I'm just reading Kiki's messages, of course. Yeah, and a lot of times it's going to take practice. It's going to take practice as far as, like, shifting your mindset out of this, because of the fact, like I said, a lot of these scarcity mindsets that we have come from our childhood. So if the longer you've lived, the harder it's going to be for you to release those mindsets. But it's just going to be a day-to-day thing. Again, it goes back to awareness, and it goes back to you just accepting the fact that it's there and shifting your mindset whenever you see it pop up. So it's going to be a day-to-day process, and it's going to be something that you just have to going to continue to be aware of and to take notice of. So that was number one for our release for emotions. So number two, I am deserving of love and happiness despite my past circumstances. I am deserving of love and happiness despite my past circumstances. A lot of times we have a scarcity mindset emotionally because of us feeling whether we're deserving of something or not. So sometimes we don't feel like we're deserving for love, or we're not deserving of happiness because of our past circumstances. We're feeling like we're not deserving of success, or we're not deserving of having good people around us, or we feel like we have to do everything ourselves because of the fact that we had made a mistake a while ago, so we can't trust the people that are around us, or we were hurt, or we don't have any family, so trusting people is difficult. So you feel like you don't have help, and your scarcity mindset is keeping you in the I don't have help mindset. And even if you do have help around you, you're dismiss it because your mindset is automatically telling you I don't have help because that's how I grew up, right? So that is a mindset that you have to release, and understanding that you are deserving of the things that you feel like you have scarcity of. So if you felt like you didn't have a lot of love, if you felt like you didn't have a lot of happiness, if you feel like you didn't have a lot of success growing up, if you feel like you didn't have a lot of help or support growing up, understand that you are deserving of it despite of what you've been through, and understand that you can have the mindset of I can get help, I can have success, I can have love, I can have happiness, I can have peace. If you grew up in a childhood that lacked peace, when it comes to your adulthood, it's going to be hard for you to embrace it. You don't like it being silent or quiet. You don't like it when people are being nice to you or kind to you. You think it's weird or it's odd. So just thinking through those different situations of where you feel like you're limited, and go from there as far as like, hey, I actually am deserving of these things. Yes, Essence, you are deserving of love. Absolutely, you're deserving of all of these things. Thank you so much for the thank you bot. Thank you. I appreciate you. So yes, you are deserving of all of these things, and just because your circumstances or your past has been one way, it doesn't mean that the rest of your life has to also be that way. So stop limiting yourself emotionally when it comes to these different areas. And if you're not quite sure, thank you for the bot. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. So when it comes to your circumstances, just use those as learning opportunities versus it being a blueprint of what the rest of your life is going to be, because that's not the case. So that was number 2 for emotions. Number 3 for emotions. My emotions do not define my worth. I am inherently valuable. My emotions do not define my worth. I am inherently valuable. Thank you so much, Kiki. I appreciate you. So understanding that sometimes we believe or perceive ourselves to be an emotional person, right? So whether it be we have a tough temperament, or we're always angry, and I'm saying this all in air quotes, we're always crying, we're always sad, we're always frustrated, or we just are if we're always told that we're overly emotional, a lot of times we feel like that diminishes our value, right? And because it diminishes our value, it then creates a scarcity mindset where we have to limit ourselves emotionally. And when we limit ourselves emotionally, it starts to build up. It starts to create burnout and depression, or we may blow up. It may create, a eruptive reaction in certain situations. So understanding that no matter how emotional we are, right? I was about to say emotional damage, but that's a little old, so I won't say that. But no matter how emotional we are inherently valuable, right? And even if we are still learning, even if we're still correcting ourselves, even if we're still growing, even if we're still building ourselves up to be the person that we want to be, even in that process, our value is still the same. So understanding that we don't have to limit ourselves emotionally Of course, if we take the time to channel the emotions the way that we should be through meditation, through mindfulness, through emotional regulation, and finding out ways to figure that out. As you're figuring that out, your value is still the same. It doesn't diminish. That's one thing that I want us to take away from this. So my emotions do not define my worth. I am inherently valuable. So those are the three for emotions. The first one is I release any scarcity mentality and welcome the limitless abundance that God has for me. Number two, I am deserving of love and happiness despite my past circumstances. And then number three, my emotions do not define my worth. I am inherently valuable. Perfect. I'm grateful for you guys too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the last section here. So the last section is abilities. So this is a scarcity mindset when it comes to our abilities and capabilities. Number one, I no longer limit myself or my abilities. I find confidence in trusting the process. I no longer limit myself or my abilities. I find confidence in trusting the process. So understanding that we don't have to limit ourselves and what our abilities are if we're currently in the process of growing, right? So if we understand that we are in a process of growing, why would we limit what our abilities are? We're still growing. So if we're always still growing, we're forever learning, then we're always going to be able to find confidence in trusting the process of that growth. Sometimes we limit ourselves or we get in that scarcity mindset because we don't feel like we are where we want or need to be. So it diminishes our value and we continue to think I'm always going to be this way because this is all the way that things have always been. I have always been angry, or I've always been overly emotional, or I've always been, the person that doesn't necessarily hit success. I always get right here and then stuff kind of falls apart. So I'm always that person. I'm always going to be the person that's making this amount of money, or I'm always going to be the type of person that's never going to find a positive or healthy relationship. I'm always going to be this person. So a lot of times we continue in these cycles because of the fact that that's all we believe we can be here. But if we find confidence in trusting the process of growth and getting better, the more we trust that versus us trusting what our abilities are, the better off we will be and the more we'll be able to evolve and change. So I no longer limit myself or my abilities. I find confidence in trusting the process. Number two, I release self-doubt, for I am constantly growing and evolving in my abilities. I release self-doubt. For I am constantly growing and evolving in my abilities, right? The more that we grow and evolve, the more self-doubt will diminish, right? So a lot of times, and I think people don't equate self-doubt to this, but self-doubt is equated to ego. And if we feel like we are supposed to be up here, but for some reason we find that we're not, that's when self-doubt starts to creep in. We start getting frustrated. We start to bring ourselves down and beat ourselves up. Whereas if we shift our mindset to I'm growing, I'm evolving, I'm getting better, I'm in a situation or in an opportunity where I'm able to grow and strengthen my abilities. If we focus on that versus where we think we should or could be, it will change everything. Self-doubt is really tricky because it can creep in so many different ways, whether it be we just feel like we're just not good enough, or we feel like we should be here and because we're not, or we were here and now we're not quite there anymore, or whatever the case may be. It starts to bring in shame and guilt, and it then turns into depression and burnout, and it kind of spirals from there. So shifting our mindsets to I am forever learning, I'm forever growing, I'm forever evolving, and my abilities will do nothing but go up from here. It's a way for us to shift our mindset out of self-doubt and finding gratitude even in that growth and that involvement. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. That was I release self-doubt, for I am constantly growing and evolving in my abilities. And then the last one for abilities is I am not limited by my past. I have the power to develop new skills and talents. I am not limited by my past. I have the power to develop new skills and talents. And this is just a reminder that it's never too late. It's never too late for you to build on an ability, on a knowledge based. It's never too late for you to get better. It's never too late for you to go back to school. It's never too late for you to revisit something that you always wanted to revisit. And it's never too late for you to learn a new trade, for you to learn a new skill. I think it was someone that was in their 80s, I want to say 70s or 80s, that went back to school to be a doctor or something like that. I found a few different instances. There was someone else that was an auto mechanic. He was an auto mechanic for like 20, 30 years or whatever, and he went back to school to be a physician of some sort. So it's never too late to go back to build on the abilities that you always wanted to do. Or it's never too late to learn a new trade or go into a new area of expertise, or to discover to discover something new. So that's just a reminder that if you feel like you are at a plateau, or if you feel like you are just kind of hitting a wall with where you are in whatever ability that you're thinking about, it's always okay. It's okay to shift. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to think outside the box. It's okay to be creative in thinking through your abilities or gaining new ones. So that one's just a reminder for that. So abilities, I'll go back through the three. The first one was I no longer limit myself or my abilities. I find confidence in trusting the process. Number two is I release self-doubt, for I am constantly growing and evolving in my abilities. And then number three was I am not limited by my past. I have the power to develop new skills and talents. All right. So I hope that these were helpful. Let me know if you need me to go back through any. Also, just make sure that based off of the affirmations that we went through, or the areas that I went through, if any of those areas are something that you really do struggle with and really are having difficulty with, make sure to journal those. Make sure to journal what you're struggling with in that area. Think about some other, affirmations that you would like to add to your list. And just kind of making sure to go through them every morning, however you want to. Like I said, if you want to put them on Post-it notes, you write them in your journal. If you want to record them so that way you can listen to them every morning, do it however you wish to. But I hope those are helpful. If there's not any questions, or if there's any questions, definitely drop them in the comments. But if not, you all have a blessed evening. We will be doing another live next week. We'll probably stick on the same topic, just different areas. And you should expect a new meditation posted on Wednesday. And I don't know if there will be a bonus on Friday, but there definitely will be bonuses this month. I am working on several different meditations. So I hope that you like all of the ones that are coming up. If you're looking for the next class, I am doing a meditation and journaling class via Zoom next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So feel free to go to haveninspired.com and you can sign up. It is available for sign up. And that beat everything. I think that's all. You all have a great rest of your evening. Thank you again for the thank you bots. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you all next week. Yes, thank you. You have a good night too. Yes, part 2. I'll see what we'll talk about with our 3 areas next week. Y'all have a great rest of your night. Good night.